I'm starting in the first project file where we'll be drawing and sketching the motif for our pattern. And over on the left are the finished motifs here in two different colorways. And then over here on the right, this is where we can look at the sketching process. So here we have a motif that's in the planning stage, and we're using MirrorMe to draw with symmetry. And then once I had the symmetrical motif planned out, I was able to create a more detailed pencil sketch, and this will become the base of our final drawing. So to begin, we'll use MirrorMe and the Dynamic Sketch tool to draw a simple mock-up just to plan out the floral motif. So first, go to the Layers panel, and here we're just going to make sure that the Sketches layer has the visibility on and that it's locked. And this will be like a guide for us. And then we're going to a layer here. Let's pull this out a little bit. It's called Mirrored Mockup. And you'll see when I select this layer, there's a single axis going down the middle of this artboard. So you draw on the left side where these little arrows are pointing, and it mirrors over to the right side. Now in a moment, I'll show you how you can set this up with MirrorMe, but since it's already set up and applied to this layer, we can start drawing. We'll be using the Dynamic Sketch tool, which is right here in the toolbar. It lives in the same stack as the pencil tool, and it's like the pencil tool with a lot more features. So once you select it, you'll see the panel activate. And then you can choose to work with pressure sensitivity and a varying stroke width. But for our sketch, I'm going to keep this set to none so we can draw with a uniform stroke weight. And then let's look at a couple basic settings. The setting for the string length is here, and the string helps you steady your drawing. Just start, and you're pulling the cursor with the string as you draw, which helps you make really smooth curves. And I'm drawing with a stylus, but the string can help you draw with a mouse or even a trackpad. And you can play with this to find a length that's most comfortable. I'm going to go ahead and delete this last path, and back in the panel, we have our accuracy and smoothness settings. I have accuracy set all the way up to the top at 10, and then the smoothness is in the middle at 50%. Now to begin. You can select this path in the corner of the artboard, and this will load in the appearance that we're using. And in this case, that's a 2-point stroke with this kind of light purple color here. All right, so now what I'm going to do is zoom in close to this axis here, and I'll begin drawing. Now, one thing I love about this tool is how it can be self-trimming. So I'm going to go back to the panel and make sure that this button is turned on. And this makes the tool trim and join wherever paths intersect so you can make closed shapes. I'm going to draw it one more time to make it taller. And then I'll come over here and do the same. Now I'm just going to draw a few more lines here, trimming and joining as I go. And then just draw some scallops here, kind of doing this very simple Art Deco style sketch just to lay out this motif. And then if you want to trim something that you've already drawn, you can use the Shift key. So just hold Shift and you'll see a little X by the cursor, and then you can drag over a path to trim it. It's almost like working with Illustrator's Shape Builder tool. Now here, I'm going to use that self-trimming feature to draw a leaf shape like that. Here's a flower that I can repeat throughout the design. I'll draw some stems. And now that we have the motif planned out, I'm going to remove the mirroring axis by going over to the MirrorMe panel and click the button Remove Axes. This removes the mirroring from this layer, and now I have my whole vector sketch and I can group it together. Next, I want to show you how to set up MirrorMe. And this is one of the free plugins from Astute Graphics, so anyone can try it out. It lets you create reflected drawings with whatever number of axes you want to set up. So you can create radial designs or a simple one-axis drawing like our floral motif. So in the MirrorMe panel, click on the pink strip to activate the tool, and this lets you position the axis, and then just click to place it. Now we can go back to the panel and tweak the settings. Here's where we can change the number of axes, and I'll set this just to 1, and then I'm going to change the X and the Y to 6 inches and 6 inches. So this will be exactly in the center of my 12 by 12 inch artboard. And there are a lot more settings, but you can check out the documentation to learn about everything just by clicking on the question mark. And this works for any panel that you want to know more about. Now I'll click Apply to Layer, That releases the tool, and now I can grab a drawing tool and start. Now, one more thing, if I cross the axis, the path I just created gets joined to the mirrored path, and that's because I have this option checked, Trim and Join Paths. So as I'm drawing this floral layout, I'm stopping short of the axis for the stems that I don't want to join. So now I have my planned out motif, and I've created a more detailed pencil sketch that will be easier for us to follow. And I'll be using a tool called InkFlow, which you can find right underneath the Dynamic Sketch tool in the tool panel. And I'm drawing the stems on a layer above the sketch layer. This tool is great for calligraphic line work like this or lettering. It can be pressure sensitive, but you can use it with a mouse too. It has the same string control cursor like Dynamic Sketch. And all of these strokes are live, so I can change the settings on the panel, and you'll see the stroke on the artboard can change even after you've drawn it. Now at the top of the InkFlow panel, there are 4 preset pens. You can select any path and click on a pen button to change the stroke. And these presets are a great way to explore all the settings on the panel. And then in this row of squares, I can save my own settings. So here's the one that I'm using for this design, but if I want to make an adjustment, change the width of this brush or anything else, I can save that as a new preset. Just make sure the path is selected and then hold Option or Alt and click on the square. And now we see the new preset there. Now I'm almost done with the stems, but I see a few here that need to be a little bit longer. And there's a great tool for this over in the tool panel, and it's called the Extend Path tool. It's part of the Path Scribe tool and panel, and I'm just going to use this tear off tool panel to bring it a little closer. And let's zoom in here, and you can see with this tool you get these little red annotations, and you can just drag them like that until the path just sort of clicks into place as it meets that central stem. So this is something that I use all the time. It's just super convenient for lengthening paths. And it works for shortening paths too. So I can come up here and just pull this one down just a little bit like that. Then I like to go back to Dynamic Sketch for drawing the leaves. And I like working at an angle using Illustrator's Rotate View feature. Now my leaves are looking good, but there's one detail that I want to zoom in on, and that is the corners tend to get a little pointy. Let me select all of these with my magic wand tool, and here I can apply a rounded corner effect just by going to the Appearance panel, Effects, and down to Vector Scribe, AG Corners. And if we look here, the radius is too round right now, but we can add just a very subtle half a point of rounding to these corners, and I'll click OK. And if we look at this without path highlighting, it's easier to see. It just makes a tiny subtle difference with those rounded corners there that I think is just going to soften the art overall. And it's a live effect, so you can always change it. Then I'm moving on to drawing all of the petal shapes, and you can just kind of connect one path onto another here. Just look for that little link symbol and continue drawing with Dynamic Sketch. And then you can even reshape a path like this. I like adding details with Illustrator's Blob Brush. And here I'm using it with a pressure-sensitive calligraphic brush. It's a nice way to add some organic detail to this art, and it's easy to work with. And if you want to clean up some of these excess anchor points without changing the art, you can use this tool, the Smart Remove Brush tool, and you can set it to a really nice, easy tolerance like this, and then just sweep it over your art, and it removes anchor points, but within that tolerance. You're not really risking making this art any less organic here, just getting rid of, the worst of the anchor points there. So it makes it really easy to clean up your art. And then I'm just going to put these all behind the other flower, and I'll add a few more of those blob brush details. And then I'm also adding details with an art brush, and I'm using the Illustrator pencil tool for this. So this is why I love working in vector. It's so flexible, and any of these line weights or stroke weights can change. They can be thicker or thinner. And of course, I can scale the art however I want. And anything you draw is multi-purpose. So I'm able to use some of the same leaves and petals to create a coordinating motif that's going to be part of this overall pattern design. And so it's less work for me to make it. Now in the next video, we're going to jump into the pattern layout process, and I'll show you some more Astute graphics tools that can really help speed up your workflow.